It is beautiful and lovely out here. I'm gonna put up the drone in a moment, and we put up the drone and we'll get some drone footage. Perhaps add that to the video or to another video. But yeah, it's mighty nice out here. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's the Black Prospector, and I just wanted to do a quick video. I think I left on my other video. I'm out here at a place out in Prescott, Arizona called Watson Lake, and spending time with my youngest son, my soon-to-be 18-year-old. And I hope the wind isn't blowing too much. I know it feels good out here. I think we're in probably the mid-90s, but y'all know it's a dry heat out here in the AZO. So that's what I love about it out here so much. And whenever I can go somewhere and find some water like right now, it's even better. So it's a good weekend for me as always. Why? Because it's Father's Day weekend, and I enjoy it a lot. Let me go ahead and make sure this thing doesn't tip over. And you know, going back decades, just when I first started having children, Father's Day weekend was always a big weekend for me, simply because I noticed the big disparities between how fathers were treated on Father's Day and how mothers were treated on Mother's Day. As you all know, two things about Mother's Day: it's one of the most traveled holidays, and it's also one of the holidays in which everyone goes to church. Even kids that didn't normally want to go to church, they'll go to church with mom. And of course, I'm sure, I haven't looked this up, but I probably bet it's probably one of the largest going out to dinner holidays as well. Father's Day, well, we know how it is. You get a tie, you get a tool, you get things that you know you better not show up with on Mother's Day by getting her like a new ironing board or whatever we might want to do for women now. I mean, even if the woman loves cooking back in the day, you still couldn't do that. You didn't get anything that reminds her of work, but with Dad, of course, it was always okay to do that. So I'm not a big holiday person. I'm sure I've gone over that in some other shows. I could care less about most holidays, but it's two that I do think, at least I look for equity on the Mother's and Father's Day, and I think everyone's birthday should mean something, because everybody cries and everybody moans and everyone's like, oh, you know, we're so sad. And remember, when you die, the attendance at your funeral is likely more dependent on the weather than how you treated people when you were alive here on earth. That's sad, but think about it. You know, it's probably some folks that you didn't go to their funeral because you probably said, well, they gone. They don't know if I'm not there or not. So, but anyway, let me get on to what I was really going to talk about. So on our way up here, and let me tell you a quick thing about our Testosterone Tour. Now, our Testosterone Tour is started going probably back in, I'm going to say maybe 2011, 2012, with my oldest son, my now, Corey Devine, and you'll see him on a lot of my podcasts and on my YouTube videos. But, when he had just graduated out of high school, one of the things that, I certainly was just ecstatic about being able to do, I went out to California on a business trip, and he was able to go ahead and join me. And we had a good time in LA, and I think it was really a good moment for him because it really expanded and opened up his world, and he saw it was a whole lot more to what was going on out here in the world besides what was in our little area in Michigan. And so I remember Tesla had just came out at that time, so it had to be about 2012, I'm thinking. And, we went to some ritzy malls, and while I'm in the conference during the day, he was doing his thing during the day. So it worked out really, really well, and I think that trip impacted him. I remember I ended up getting sick on that trip. Good thing it wasn't like today, because, we would have panicked and thought I had some kind of bug and wouldn't have recovered and wouldn't have survived. But back then, I got a fever, and I actually ended up surviving when I got back. But I remember walking around Hollywood with him over there by where the Walk of the Stars or whatever, fame over in that way. We went to a McDonald's because that's what we do. And, I remember just being sick, not feeling well, had a fever the next day at the conference, but I was determined I was going to roll with him no matter how bad I was feeling. Later on through the years, I remember taking another trip with him and then my other son, the one that's now 23, and he was younger. And I remember it was a rough trip because I always wanted my sons to be close because we got. And it turned out, I remember what bothered me is most of the trip we traveled, I think it was right before I moved, probably around 2015. And we ended up traveling across to the west side of the state of Michigan to go chill at the lake. I don't know, I just got a thing for water. And so we went over there to the lake, and I remember those two didn't talk much the whole time. But after we sat around, and I don't know what started it. I think my oldest son started talking about his girlfriend, and that really got everything going. And I don't, it got me going, because before I am even the way I am now, in terms of relationships, it was still trying to school him and talk to him about his relationship, and we're women. And at that point, it was like we just all talked. I think it was like a 3-hour trip back home, and we just kicked it. It was great. And just over the years, I just always like going out with my sons, and pretty much probably since 2018, every year, at least one overnighter, but preferably more than one overnighter. Whether it's a big trip like my 23-year-old a couple of years ago, right before the world shut down, actually, on New Year's, we traveled up, left the Phoenix area, went all the way up onto the other side of San Francisco, took that trip right along the coast. That was an amazing trip, spent New Year's overlooking the Pacific Ocean. That was memorable. But even last year, going to Zion with my sons, and this year, we plan to do another one, but 23-year-old got married, so we're going to delay that one a bit. But in the meantime, notice wind blowing here. In the meantime, that doesn't stop me from still heading out with my other son, because he's still in the home. And until he get one of those, as I call it, until he gets one of those wife thingies, I can still travel with him as well. So ironically, on the way up here, and this is why I wanted to have this conversation, I was listening to, I wasn't driving and watching, he wasn't driving, he just got his license. He wasn't driving though. But I was driving and listening to this podcast, and a guy talked about, don't let school get in the way of your education. And, I told all my kids, whether I'm homeschooling them or not, you think it would be like, you must go to college, you must go, and you must do. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go to college. If you don't want to, don't go. But know when you go, know what you're going for. Because you may have a job skill and a hustle that you're going to get paid a whole lot more money doing that than you are going to somebody's university, paying all of that money and then getting a student loan debt. And here we are, everybody is hoping that the government comes out and bails them out of that. And understand, I say that as someone who has a whole lot of student loan debt. But I know the game now. We just watched College Inc. actually just yesterday. And so I'm always schooling them on the game of a college education. But the main point is that listen to that podcast when that guy said that, and he mentioned that one of the best things he did was with his dad. They took a trip, and I think he said he was getting close to finishing up. Sounded like he might have been at a 2-year institution, maybe like a community college. And he said that he had to miss school. His dad told him, you're going to have to miss some school if you want to go on this business trip with me. And he did. He missed class. I'm not sure how much of the semester. It only sounded like maybe a week or so. But he said over that 4-day period, he made sales calls. He helped his dad on the business. He went to some business meetings, put on a suit that didn't fit him. And you know what? I've tried to get my kids involved in many of those as well. Because while it may be the Testosterone Tour also, about 3.5 years ago, I went down to Palm Springs, got invited there by an automotive, automotive company, and to a very nice resort, and I took my daughter. So although it may be the Testosterone Tour, Daz, I think it's important to have our kids with us when we travel, when we get out here, and when we get out here and prospect, when we get out here and experience this world. They learn, they see how to handle business. They end up seeing us navigate and deal with tough times, and especially if it's something involving the job. They see, like, look, this is business travel. You don't have to be intimidated by it. And once you really learn the game, it's actually like, look, you can go to a lot of nice places on the company's dime because you're making the company money. Don't get it twisted. It's not like, they are actually, you're using them. You're making them money. That's why they're sending you over there in the first place. But let me say that when I think about traveling, and the reason why I call myself the Black Prospector is because my dad was the prospector. When we were younger and traveling out west, taking I-80 all the way across from Detroit to the Bay Area. First of all, I was one of the few kids I was the only kid in my peer group in Detroit that did anything like that. Most of the black kids I went to school with, they went down to Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi. Only had one friend had folks in Florida. They would go down there and do a family reunion. But we just went for vacation, drove all the way to California, and would be gone 2 weeks. Those experiences with my father, watching him drive, taught me so much as a man. Matter of fact, I'll go as far as to say that of all the things my dad did in showing me about manhood and how to be a man, it goes back to those trips. Wasn't any talk at home. My father was not going to be the type that I am with my kids. My kids know I'm going to get them to lecture. They probably, in days of getting disciplined, they probably would rather me pull my belt off than talk to them for an hour or two. But my dad was one that might pull his belt off when he did have to. He wasn't going to be the one to lecture you for an hour on why you did what you did. It was like, boom, this is what you did and this is why you're getting in trouble for it. But I certainly think watching him drive, watching him travel across country, the things that we dealt with, I'm sure I'll get into more of that in some other episodes, but watching him navigate life, leading his family, 3 kids and a wife in an old 77 Bonneville. Now that was the family truckster at that time. The car made a lot of trips across the country. So what did I learn during those trips? Well, let me tell you. So there were some things I learned on those trips, and some of the things I learned on those trips was watching my father navigate the racism and how racist this country really was. Of course, we're only talking about within a decade after the so-called civil rights movement had ended, depending on whether you think it ended when Martin Luther King was assassinated or whether you felt it ended when the Black Panthers were pretty much destroyed and also eliminated and wiped out. But you really saw how racist this country was, or many would say still is. One of the main videos on my site right now that people get so butthurt about is just my uncle explaining about picking cotton up until the mid 60s. And just him talking about that and me being still surprised, not so much the fact I'm shocked that he picked cotton. Didn't say anything about as a white folks never pick cotton, but folks got triggered. And what's funny is that many of the people that will holler about being triggered, and it's the Democrats that get triggered by stuff, are the same ones that y'all know who you are that really got triggered when you weren't even mentioned. But anyway, I digress. I don't even want to go into that. But it really showed me how racist this country really is, especially listening to the comments that were being made on the CB radio as we were traveling across country, with them talking about my light-skinned mother and him being, her must being a nigger lover, something that they would later on say about my wife in 1992. Hear the same things 15 years later. I got a feeling that if we did the same trip now, except, people don't have to say it over the CB. I guess they say it through text, I don't know. Or they put it in the YouTube comment area. But watching my dad have to navigate that and what he went through, I'm sure, I'll talk about that in further episodes. But it taught me something being a man, seeing him handle himself. The other thing that it taught me is that in that car, 77 Bonneville, and at that time, my dad, being someone who was very familiar with the auto industry and being a car guy, one of the things that he always noted, you don't keep a car past 100,000 miles. And although the car had certainly far less than that at the time, there was still this fear that it was going to break down. And every now and then there were problems with the car, but I watched him handle it. In a day and age of no cell phone, in a day and age of not having AAA, all he had was some cash and a credit card if necessary. He still was ready to handle whatever emergency was going to come his way with the family. This wind is really blowing out here, but it looks good up against the water. Let me see if y'all can see that. It looks really great with it blowing on the water there coming through the rocks. Now I'm going to turn the camera around in a second. But the other thing I learned about watching my dad is, every now and then my father's temper would really get going. And thankfully, never had that one of those incidents happen. But the truck drivers would talk so much trash on their CB. As my father said, they were selling nothing but wolf tickets. And so I also got a chance to see him being more than ready to defend his family if necessary. So many times I remember my mom grabbing his hand because he was telling the dude that, let's go ahead and pull over at that next rest area. I'll meet you there. Basically, you talking all that crap over the CB, then let's go ahead and meet at that next rest area. Now, yes, that was an ego thing. Yes, in our litigious society today, we know that somebody would be like, oh, I fear for my life. And then, next thing you know, they all of a sudden, when they big and bad, and, they Chad Thundercock, that they ready to go out here and do what they got to do. But then if it really would have been time to do something, they either would have had to pull out something, or they would have, called 911, talking about this black guy beating up on me, and I fear for my life, and I'm a victim. So the main point is, I still saw him being more than willing. He wasn't going to back down. And to watch him always be there to protect, to watch him provide, because my mother didn't work, so that trip was funded by the money that he was going to make every day in the factory. The car that we was going in was a car that he was working to pay for. It was his vacation time that was being used up. And yet he still used that time to be with the family. So that's why for me, he's the original Prospector. And the only thing I thought about, I used to be the Prospector 2, as in T-O-O, but I still might use that in some spots. But really, I'm more the Black Prospector. And that's how I got the name. I'm always out here digging for gold, and that's what he used to say on the CB as well. So with that, I'm just going to say, guys, look, get out here and travel with your family. Travel with your sons especially. Number one, so they will know I can handle myself. They'll stop being scared. They'll stop being scared traveling, thinking, well, what am I going to do if I get a flat tire? You know what you do, men? You change your flat tire. That's what you do, guys. You change your flat tire. What am I going to do? My car battery goes dead. You know what? You go get the cables that you packed up in the trunk. And here's the other thing, and I can show you mine in the old Honda right now. Two things we brought. We bought a tire inflator, and we also bought a nice little charger. And I still have my cables, just in case. It was a brand new charger. I have one of some of my other cars, and I told my son, I said, hey, go ahead, plug this in, charge it up while we're driving. My son was like, well, they said it's already charged. And I said, when you get your car, and then fine, you can believe them. And if you find out it's not, then you deal with it. But for me, let's go ahead and make sure it's completely charged before we have to find out that it's not when we need it. Those are the things I want him to learn. You are in control of what you can be in control of. You can be in control of how you prepare your car. You need to know how to do basic maintenance on your car. I'm not saying you have to be able to. We stopped at a rest area on the way here. It was a guy, had an older Nissan Pathfinder. It looks like it was before they put the CVT in there. So I ain't laughing at the man. I got a Honda automatic transmission, not any better. But actually it's a little bit better than Nissan CVT, especially if it needs to be replaced. But the point is, this guy, I guess he's at the rest area, his car wouldn't go in reverse. So there he was calling a tow truck. So I'm not saying you have to be prepared to fix that, but you better be ready to know how to fix basic maintenance items that may go wrong when you're on the road traveling. And probably the two biggest ones, simply going to be a flat tire, and it might be a dead battery. You at least got to be able to know how to handle that. And so why? Because I watched my dad handle that. My boy Kurt and I had to handle that coming home from Southern California. That's a whole other video I'm going to have Kurt on here to talk about one day. Where we had flat after flat, and we were stupid and didn't even have a jack. I learned my lesson. 20 years old, being young and dumb, I learned my lesson. One that I'm not trying to repeat again, being, let's just say, maybe twice, but I'm 2.5 years older than that. So with that, this wind is kicking up out here. Let me go ahead and get in. I'm going to enjoy some more of this weather, but I'm going to summarize it again. Men, first, get yourself in shape so you can change that tire if you have to. Know how to change your tire. Make sure your tire has enough air in it, your spare tire. Make sure you know how to even give yourself a boost, whether you're carrying an in-car battery charger around, you hook it up, I'm telling you, it's done like that. Or at least have some battery cables so you can go ahead and hold them out there and say, can anybody give me a boost? Can anybody give me a boost? And, hopefully nowadays, it's like now people want to do it and folks be trying to give you $20 for helping them out. In my world, look, it's like donating blood. I'll be good. My car, my battery, a recharge, it'll replenish, the alternator do its job. But at least be ready to do that. And when your sons can see that with you traveling on the road, when your sons can see that, wow, I'm going to travel and not be scared. Go back to the video that I had with Cobra John talking about not living scared. There's a lot of things we can be scared of. I think we shouldn't be so wimpish in our society today that we're even scared to get in the car and travel with our families because we're worried about what might go wrong. That's not man thinking. All right, in the meantime, let me finish this vid out. Let's look at some scenery. All right, so here we go. Let's get another view of the lake. And there's a whole other side over here that we are not seeing. Let's see if I can turn around. As I said, it is beautiful and lovely out here. I'm gonna put up the drone in a moment. And we put the drone and we'll get some drone footage. Perhaps add that to the video or to another video. But yeah, it's mighty, mighty, mighty nice out here. So if y'all like the footage, if you like the video, why don't you like, why don't you subscribe, why don't you hit the notification bell, why don't you follow? Just to let you know, I do plan on having another show, competing in a show. So for you guys that are looking to get into shape, feel free. I hope I'm gonna try to be consistent in vlogging my journey. I feel like I'm too old to be some dude on Instagram posting a bunch of stuff, but again, this is the way of the world right now. So it is what it is. Nobody knows, and as one of my clients says, you know, I probably suck at marketing, so I know I need to improve there. But hey, 52 now, and definitely want to compete in my second show coming up in about 5 months. I think we're a little over 4 months out actually. So looking to compete in the Masters division. But I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm about to eat. I'm about to get my eat on for real this weekend. I have a lot of junk food, so yes, I do enjoy my food. You don't have to give everything up. But at the same time, while I'm going to be enjoying my food, I am also going to be trying to up my routine up to 5 days a week. This would be something new for me. I come from that background of high intensity training, Mike Mincer, dog crap training, more training to failure. That's why I love Paul Carter stuff as well. But I gotta admit, this Renaissance periodization, Mike Israetel stuff is getting to me also. And I'm enjoying it. And ironically, my last mesocycle, I'm probably coming out of it feeling the healthiest that I have in a long time. And that was with no squats, with no deadlifts. My back feels better, my knees are feeling better, and I gotta admit, I was tripping out. This was for the first time, my shorts even felt a little tight in the thighs. My shorts. Now, my arms feeling tight in the sleeves, okay, that's relatively easy for me. But for my thighs to feel tight in something, like, oh no, could my quads be getting bigger? My chicken legs, I'll take it, I don't know. But either way, feel free, follow the journey. So if that's you and you looking to try to go ahead, get into shape, if you're trying to make sure you're still trying to work out that can we still say the word, or are they flagging every video? They probably do got the algorithm jacking folks up if you say it. But if you still worried, if you catch a little bug that, you know, you're not gonna make it, or if you still holding on weight from the pandemic, then feel free, give me a follow. I'm going to try to chronicle this journey. When I had to do this last year, I ain't gonna lie, I was also a little apprehensive, not only for putting myself out there, but also, what if I didn't make it? What if I didn't get my weight down enough time? What if I sucked in the competition? So this year, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. I trust my coach 100%. You know, now it's to the point I trust him even out of curiosity. And so, you know, can't thank him enough for that. And I like this year training because I wanted to be in a place where I could even enjoy life a little bit more. And the other thing that I told him I wanted to do this year was, for the first time, obviously getting to where I can see my abs, I wanted to always keep the abs right somewhere within view. I wanted to keep, you know, where it probably wouldn't take anything for me to see my abs. And you know what? I gotta say, with the exception of the bad eating I did in March when my son got married, we had a lot of family in, I enjoyed myself. We were going out to eat. I was getting my favorite peanut butter and jelly double cheeseburger. I was loving life. And then my abs got a little blurry. But since then, by the time April hit, everything came right back. And so if you want to follow along with that journey, give me a follow. But in the meantime, the Black Prospector is going to be trying to make it do what it do. Me and my son are going to enjoy more of this weather, more of this water. And if you try to get into shape, you know what to do. Follow it. And I'll kind of give you some updates on the routine and stuff that I got going on. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.